Welcome to the Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, how dare you, then be sure to subscribe. Hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a coffee, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and X. Now we are joined by Refracted Curvature, Neil, Quantum Eraser, and a whole bunch of people in the Flat Earth Debate Discord server, so welcome one and all.
Let's get it on.
Yeah, I want to hear more about the angles taken with respect to a plane of reference actually being proof that we live on a ball. That's going to be good stuff.
Oh, C.S. Lewis told me that we live in Narnia, and I believe C.S. Lewis.
Well, he don't deserve the truth.
Yeah, I was thinking that yesterday. It's interesting you should say that. And I'm going to give this Glad Q his ear because he can tell me it's not his original idea that I've taken second hand from Validation Boy. But Validation Boy, when I first came across this subject, was of the opinion, sod everybody, why the hell would you want to tell them? They're not going to be grateful, they're going to mock you for it. So just keep it to yourself. In other words, they're not going to give you gratitude, so why throw pearls to swine, is his attitude, or it was his attitude back in the day. And I kind of agree. Now, my version of that is to say, you've got two options. Number one, once you know Earth's flat, that's how it's measured. Get on with your day, don't worry about it. You don't need to go around challenging people and ruining their day. On the other hand, buy my book when it comes out if you do want to do exactly that. Learn the subject inside out, back to front, so you can confront people who tell you otherwise, like, oh, I think it's a ball. Why? Well, because we navigate a ball when we maths a ball. Really? Where do the measurements of Earth come into that? Well, they'll all be flat, won't they? If you know that, great, you can get on with your day knowing Earth's measured flat. If not, and you want to debate everybody under the sun, buy a copy of my book when it comes out, hopefully imminently. Should we do some housekeeping, like for realsies this time, unlike yesterday?
Yes.
Any evidence you can have gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container to press upon for all those space believers?
Negative.
I would not appeal to a pressure gradient.
Pressure gradient? Somebody did that about my mic. They're like, that mic works on a pressure gradient principle. I'm like, yeah, and? Like, is that allowed? I'm like, yeah. What are you talking about? I'm all for the wind. What are you babbling about? Transference of sound? These guys want to ask me about pressure gradients because they think it's some dumbass baller response when we point out that the sky is not a vacuum. You're like, yeah, we got a pressure gradient. They're like, well, why isn't there a container between those gradients then? You're like, are you having me on? Are you really this dumb? If that was something that was ever entertainable, we'd never hear anything. There'd be endless containers between every single gradiated bit of pressure you ever experienced. It's like, no, but for the fact that we have contained gas pressure, we can have things like sound.
They always appeal to existing gas pressure. Always.
Yeah, where'd you get the gas pressure from in the first place?
Well, within the topic, appealing to the pressure gradient is kind of like a double shot in the foot, because not only do you need a container for the pressure initially, but to describe a pressure gradient, you'll need a horizontal plane of reference.
We've actually got a poll for the chat. I click on the little three dots in my live stream. It doesn't give me the ability to actually start a poll from my live stream studio. I think you have to actually go to the live stream as the videography yourself, and then you can start it from there, which I'm not going to do. I'm not going to open a new page. I'm just going to do it verbally. So we've got a couple of videos that we can cover today. One is, I can't see the name of the channel. Hold on a second. The Flat Earth Warriors. Okay. And it's covering some Jesuit priests that are going through their connection to heliocentrism and the stars in that regard. And the other is Simondan, covering CC. Now, my preference is frankly neither. But I'll put it to the audience. So put a 2 in the live stream chat if you want to cover Simondan covering CC, as tedious as that sounds. Or if you want, I think possibly the lesser of two evils is going through what we go through generally, which is, you know, the Jesuit connection, Roman Catholic Church connection to heliocentrism, and, you know, the Copernican paradigm of a ball in a sky vacuum. So let us know with a number 1 if you want the Jesuit thing, or let us know with a 2 if you want the Simondan one. And we'll come back to that shortly. But yeah, there's your straw poll. Hopefully you're all paying attention. I'm not exactly sure how many people are in the live chat. Let's have a look. There's well over 50 people. So yeah, there's enough of you to make a decision. No, Oxbow 3 is not an option. Okay, so let's go on with any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics.
That's funny because in the, what do you call it? The priest one talks a lot about that.
About what, Neil?
Science and what they do is science, but of course he's referring to pseudoscience.
Oh, maybe we'll
Well,
cover
it's
that.
funny that
Go on, John.
this Scam Man Dan one also has a mention of a claimed experiment that we've had a brush with here recently, the final experiment, as they titled it.
Oh, you're appealing. I see what you do. You're appealing to the audience to get the votes in for Dan because you're keen on Dan's video.
I have an easy solution. Just do the Simondan one, and tomorrow we'll do the Jesuit. I think they're both good.
I don't really want to cover either, so I'll just go to the chat and defer to whatever they want to do. We've got a couple of 2s, a couple of 1s, nothing definitive. Very helpful. Oh dear. Any scientific evidence of gravity?
That's in that one too. See, I know when you start playing that video, you're going to be on fire immediately.
What, the Jesuit one?
Yeah, you just played the intro. Wait till he starts getting into all of this stuff. You're going to be on fire ripping them.
Okay, well, as it's not conclusive, I can't remember which numbers I said. More people have said 2 now, actually. More people want Dan, it seems. 1, 2, yeah. By a very slim margin, people want Dan. Okay, looks like we're covering Dan. The audience has spoken. Very disappointed in you all.
Yeah, but see, we're keeping these guys relevant by watching this and critiquing it. The other guy is just some Jesuit priest we never heard of.
Well, okay, I'll drag out the voting process, see if it swings the other way now you've said that, Neil. You know, there's a couple more people that haven't voted. Also, please share the show if you've not done so already. 67 people watching is pretty strong for an early start. We're only 10 minutes in. But it'd be nice to get up to 100 as soon as possible for whatever video we do inevitably end up covering. We'll cover one or the other. But Dan is such a muppet, says Qualric. Yeah, I completely agree. And I agree with our Italian friend here when he says that we're giving these people validation by covering them. I completely agree, Neil. No, not enough. Not enough. Oh no, there's 2 more votes come in for number 1. Okay, should we cover this then? As the votes have swung the other way now, with 71 people watching, we've got to cover something. So we'll start with this. It's only 12 minutes. I doubt we'll get to the end of it before the end of the live stream, but for the audience's benefit, I'm pretty sure you swayed in favour of this video, unless I miscounted. We're covering it in either event, so please let this videographer know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. I don't think they're the originator of the video, but that's certainly where we're getting the material from, so they're going to get the credit. And by that, I say that it is actually going by in the live stream chat if you are watching this live. So please do actually click on that link. We will delay slightly longer before we do get into this video. So please pop along and just let them know that we've covered their video. If they've put this out there and it is their original material, I don't think it is, then great. But in either event, we've had it brought to our attention by this videographer. So please leave them a comment and point out that we like sharing YouTube love here. If they were to do some form of response, we would hope that they'd put a link to the Nathan Oakley 1980 YouTube channel in return. Hopefully that's given a couple of you a chance to actually pop along to this videographer and let them know Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me, with a polite comment that doesn't immediately get eradicated by the YouTube algorithmic bots or the videographer themselves. Obviously be polite, be friendly. We want to share that YouTube love and hope that it would come back our way at some stage down the line. So there you go. There's the link to his video. I'll stick it in once more and then we'll move on and actually cover this video. So there it is, winging its way by. Okay, any comment before we do any further comment, as Neil's already put his 2 pennyworth in on this particular video? It's flat, says top Jesuit astronomer, is the title of the video. Horrendous title. All capitals, it's flat, with an underscore, lowercase says, capitalized top, Jez hyphenated Jesuit astronomer with a capital. Just absolutely horrendous. No offense to your videographer, but just pick a format. Come on.
And spouses.
Go on, John.
Oh, I was just going to say that this definitely goes back to the basis of their religion. This video does. That's why I liked it. It shows that their beliefs are tied to measuring the Earth as a flat plane.
So this is Guy. I'm going to butcher this now. Consolmagano. We're going to just call him Guy.
One of the guys, half of them were Catholic, as it turns out, so much for Catholics not doing Bible studies. One of the guys came up to me and said, I just want to let you know, I believe in the absolute truth that creation was made in the 6 days, just as described in the book of Genesis. And that's my religion. I just want to let you know that ahead of time.
Why would you need informing of that? Just to let you know, I believe the Bible and what it says. Great opener. Are you alluding to the idea that you don't? I mean, what gives?
And I'm thinking, have you actually read Genesis? Where it says the world is flat and it's covered with a dome and there's water above and below the dome.
I don't think it says that in that specific of context. It doesn't say that, does it? No. You're taking inference. Now, I should maybe lean into it, being a flat earther and all, but I don't really like this straight off the bat.
Where does the shuttle go? How come you don't get wet? Where it says the world is flat and it's covered with a dome and there's water above and below the dome, where does the shuttle go? How come you don't get wet? But then he told me a little bit more. He said, before he was an astronaut, he was a test pilot. Test pilots, you don't want to have the habit of creatively reinterpreting their written instructions.
Their written instructions, like fly across a plane, remain straight and level, reference the horizon to reference your horizontal, those sorts of things. Yeah, those all would allude to the notion that the Bible, as you are indicating, is suggesting Earth being a flat plane when referenced for pilots.
And that's true of computer programmers, and that's true of engineers in general. These are people whose world depends on them literally interpreting the material that they've been given.
Yeah, they need to fly across Earth as a flat plane. That's correct.
And so to them, the Bible is just another owner's manual, because that's the way they view the world.
Yeah, that seems pretty okay to me so far. I mean, obviously, if you're going to lean in... I'm slightly taken aback, actually. Your rhetoric is my rhetoric. These people deal with a flat plane, and that's how their world is, and subsequent to them dealing with Earth, measuring Earth, and flying across Earth in this example that you're making as a flat plane, they can also go to their Bible and it will tell them Earth's a flat plane. Now, in that order, I literally have absolutely no objection to any of that, right? In fact, it pretty much mirrors and echoes what I say. Amazing. Brilliant. Wonderful.
Whereas in the ancient world, what are the oldest books we have? The Iliad, the Odyssey, they're poems. They're books of poetry. And the world was interpreted in terms of metaphor and simile. And of course, the crazy thing is, science itself is metaphor and simile.
No, it is not. Science is the establishment of the cause of naturally occurring phenomena. That's to say, it's the study of the physical and natural world, like natural science. That's the scientific method. It elucidates cause.
Newton's equation for the fall of a rock due to
The laws of Newton weren't right. You're very out of date.
the laws of gravity
No such beast exists.
is a poem. It says the path of this falling rock is like the solution to this equation.
Really? And will that factor in the clouds? Are they falling? Where will they work in it? Now, I'm thinking that was debunked 110 years ago.
It's not that they're the same thing. And the sad thing of that statement about evolution being proved, evolution is not going to be proved. Nothing in science is ever proved.
Absolutely incorrect. Science only proves it's the only outcome in the scientific method. It's built into the logic of hypothesis construction. If A, then B, and if A, not B, cannot exist simultaneously as an outcome. You can't have A, your presumed causal influencer in an experiment, both cause the effect and not cause the effect simultaneously. So upon variation and manipulation of a presumed cause in an experiment, you can only prove one or other prediction correct. It's built into the logic. Now, but for violations of the law of non-contradiction, you can only prove something at the end of an actualized hypothesis, aka actualization of a hypothesis in the scientific method is proof, contrary to what this idiot just said.
And the sad thing of that statement about evolution being proved, evolution is not going to be proved. Nothing in science is ever proved.
No, nonsense pseudoscience won't be proven, and evolution is not science. So tarring evolution, whatever the hell that is, with the brush of science and then declaring that science doesn't prove things is farcical, incorrect, and non sequitur.
Science describes. It doesn't prove.
No, descriptions describe. Science absolutely proves cause of effect. It's all it can do. You vary your presumed cause. It either does cause the effect, in which case that prediction, if A then B, is proven. Or it doesn't cause the effect, in which case that prediction, if A not B, is proven. That's all it does. Just proves things. That's all it does. That's all the scientific method can do.
I've got two really thick books on my shelf back in Castor Gandolfo. One of them is a Bible, and the other is a book by Misner, Thorne, and Wheeler called Gravitation. And this is about that thick, and it's all about Einstein's general theory of relativity.
Well, a minute ago you were talking about Newtonian gravitation of mass attracting mass. And now you've sort of segued into 110-year out-of-date non-forces superseding that which you've just described when in fantasy of things going down. Rocks, right? Why are we talking about bent pseudo-Riemannian space-time when contextually you were talking about Newton only 2.5 seconds ago?
The Bible's 3,000 years old. The gravitation book is 25 years old. The gravitation book is out of date. It's obsolete.
Boom. Yep, not wrong. If it's talking about Newtonian, but you alluded to it being Einsteinian, that's the current rhetoric in your heliocentric worldview. That's not correct either. It's a pseudo-geometry, but nevertheless.
Science books go up.
No. It's not a science book. No, there's no such beast. Science book? What, a book with lots and lots of people describing by way of a wordy explanation after the fact when describing the experiment that's been validating causes of effects, multiples thereof listed in a book. Yeah, you could just about get away with that contextually. But there's no book of science. Science is a method. It's not a book. It's not a story. It's a method.
Slit. They're supposed to. 1,000 years from now, our science, our understanding of evolution, our understanding of the solar system.
None of these things are science. Solar system, what? Sun at center, Copernicus? No, you're just talking about your Jesuit forefathers. That's what you're talking about. Their ideas aren't science either.
Our understanding of the Big Bang is going to be...
Understanding of the Big Bang? What, Lemaitre? I'm thinking, no, these aren't understandings, these are stories. They're certainly not science. Now, what this Jesuit priest is doing is throwing science under the bus to justify the incorrect assertions of his predecessors. That's all this is. All right, well, science, it isn't. Can get things wrong. Here's a few examples. And will continue to get things wrong as we make up stories and call them science in the future. That's what this really is. That's what this man's doing.
Be completely different than what it is now.
No. Empirical outcomes afforded by the scientific method, if performed correctly, will never change. It's empirical. The outcomes therein are empirical by nature. That's what the scientific method does. Gives you empirical outcomes when varying and manipulating presumed causes of effects observed in nature.
I hope.
Are you saying, though, that then the problem is that on one level, science is dominated by these kind of fundamentalist techies?
No, science is not a dominatrix. It doesn't have a whip or a dildo. It can't dominate Jack. It's a method. It ain't into domination. It's a method.
Who can't read a text other than in a fundamentalist way?
No, there's no fundamentalist readings when you're talking about science. This is a stupid question. It demonstrates to me that the person asking it doesn't understand what science is either.
There is an element of that. I wouldn't say it's dominated by it.
Yeah.
Is it not? Is it more of a pacifist? Yeah? Is science a bit of a masochist?
Because the funny thing is, most religious people are not arch creationist fundamentalists. Most evangelicals are not. But those are the ones you see on TV.
We've got 12 astronomers, most of them Jesuits. There are a couple of diocesan priests who work with us. And we all have doctorates from different universities from around the world. We come from 4 continents. We're
not doing any science. None of what's on screen now is science, right? Are they establishing the cause of a naturally occurring phenomena? This looks a lot like technology to me. Maybe they're going to tell us that this is an experimental setup. We'll find out shortly, I'm sure.
Do science ranging from, the Planck time of the first 10 to the minus 43 seconds before that time.
That sounds like counting. That's not science.
After the Big Bang.
Sorry, you were counting after the Big Bang. Whoa. You got a DeLorean there, have you? Did you go back through a bent geodesic to count time?
To dust that hits the top of the Earth's atmosphere now.
Atmo what now? Atmosphere? What, like atmo, air? Sphere? Like air in a sphere shape? Oh, no, old man. Beardy, were you not aware that gases don't behave that way? You don't have arbitrary sphere-shaped oxymoronic air. Atmosphere? No, definitely not.
And everything in between. Dust that hits the top of the Earth's atmosphere now and everything in between.
And it's not just here at Castel Gandolfo. Across the Atlantic Ocean in Arizona in the United States, the Vatican purchased this state-of-the-art telescope.
Does that mean it's science? It's a telescope. So you can have a damn good look at the sky, right?
Where priests and brothers with degrees in the sciences...
No. None of them have got degrees in any sciences. Yeah, I'll put my bottom dollar on them never having performed any cause and effect reasoning through actualization of hypotheses based on phenomena that they observed. They're just observing the sky. Now, plenty of phenomena could be labelled as phenomena. No cause will be established by these clowns. But they're calling themselves the sciences after their own brethren, their guy, their man, 2 minutes ago in this very video, pointed out that they just keep getting it wrong. I mean, we'll call it science incorrectly, but ultimately he's just pointing out that they're wrong a lot, isn't he? Now that your brethren is telling us how wrong they are, and I'm identifying it as not being science, yeah, just throwing something that's empirical under the bus with their incorrect just so stories he's admitting to. Yeah, so let's not lean into the sciences like that has any weight. Because what you, Irish, are talking about is the
Math and
pseudosciences.
engineering capture awe-inspiring images like these.
Is that science? Awe-inspiring images aren't science.
Why does the Vatican have an astronomical observatory?
Don't you think every major religion should support astronomy?
Why? Why? Who gives a toss? I mean, beyond navigation and their awe-inspiring nature, what would the religion utilise them for, pray tell? Oh, right, controlling people. Yeah, of course, it's the Jesuits, isn't it?
The answer is deeper than that, of course. In 1891, Pope Leo XIII deliberately established a Vatican observatory. Astronomy was a field that the Vatican already had a really strong international reputation.
Yeah, good. I mean, tracking the stars, getting the ideas down of the patterns, maybe researching people who'd done it prior, is all fascinating stuff and very useful. But it ultimately doesn't really do anything for our understanding of the world beyond measuring it flat, say, with elevation angles. But this isn't science. You keep alluding to the idea that you've got scientific validity to looking at the things in the sky that we call stars. That's not science.
And this was to show the world that the church was not against science.
So you're not against science, you're not doing science. How would looking at the stars in any way show the world that you're not against science? No, you're not against looking at the stars because you're looking at the stars. Yeah? This is nonsense. Oh, right, the church wanted to show how we don't protest gay rights, so we went and had a look at the stars. Well, how is that connected? Well, it's not. It's about as connected as it is to science.
And also to show the world that the Vatican was a nation with a national observatory.
So it was
So you're just showing off.
part scientific and part political.
Non-scientific. Right, do you want to explain to me what looking at the sky, how it's science? Okay, I'm doing that right now. Science! I'm looking at the sky. It's awe-inspiring! Perhaps if I make up some garbage about it and call it a religion, I can call it science then, can I? Because I'm looking at it. Oh, what, will I need a big, long tube to look through at it to call it science? If I look through a big tube, will it be science? Clowns? No!
As most of these things are.
No, then none of them science. You're just a bullshitter with a beard.
The thing that, the reason we continue to have a Vatican observatory is to continue to remind the peoples in the pew that we are not anti-science, that
No, you're the ones that have brainwashed people into believing that they're on a ball flying around the sun in a heliocentric model created by you and your predecessors. I was about to say forefathers. Your predecessors. Yeah? They're the ones who came up with this nonsense of moving around the sun by looking at the stars and coming up with just so stories that your own brethren will admit in a heartbeat were consistently wrong.
the church not only supports science, but the church...
No, you don't support science. Show me how much money the church has pumped into cause and effect reasoning based on scientific validity after validating what cause a phenomenon observed in nature. If you want to show me how much money the church has pumped into that, then I'll believe that statement. But you're not. You're pumping it into what you're calling science. This garbage where you look at the stars, that's what you're actually doing. Now, heaven forbid I take a peek at the stars and then start saying I'm a scientist, but that's basically what they're doing.
Church is mother of science in many ways, because science...
What? The church is the mother of science? No, nothing you've described is science. What you mean is this arm, the Roman Catholic Church, is the father of bullshit stories about the world moving around the sun, invented by your predecessors. That's not science.
Science began in the universities.
In the observatory's headquarters, there is a museum documenting the Vatican's contribution to science and astronomy dating back as far as 1582.
Who cares?
And the Gregorian reform of the calendar.
This is the
So what, you're telling me that they want to control time that's derived from the lights in the sky and therefore make a calendar with it? Yeah, they're controlling aspects of people and society. Yeah, we kind of go through this on an almost daily basis. It's nice to hear them detailing it. It's just irritating when they constantly refer to this crap, coming up with a calendar in this instance, as being science.
first telescope that the observatory got in 1891, and it was installed in a little dome on the Tower of the Winds. So this was back in Vatican City, and in fact, the first telescopes were on the walls of the Vatican City. We didn't move out here until the 1930s.
The museum
Again, who cares? Literally, who cares?
is a treasure trove of a part of Vatican history that is widely unknown, like the story
Not by widely unknown to what, the general public? Yeah, they'd be horrified if they found out that this crap that they believe in about moving around the sun on a ball that's been derived from flat earth measurements came from the church. Yeah, we highlight that fact quite regularly though here. Obviously, us highlighting it in a context that points out how Earth's measured alongside it means we have to be censored, while you'll come up with a calendar and tell people they have to abide by it. And then you'll call yourself scientists!
of the Sisters of the Child Mary.
Only one Irish at a time, Brian, please.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was listening there. A man started making all these excuses. So it's just like band-aids. Well, you know, this science is a changing thing, and in 100 years' time, it could all be different. And now they're going on to talk about the sciences that they're all involved in, with their astronomy and whatever other rubbish. And all they're doing is just stating, listen, all this could be shown to be rubbish, and if it is, we'll just go along with it. That's all I'm saying. That's all I've heard. You know what I mean? We'll just roll with the punches. Yeah, whatever is the thing of the day, we'll just go along with that and promote that. That's all they're saying right there. That's all I heard.
Yeah, they're simultaneously decrying their magic tricks and then telling you, by the way, we're magicians and magic's great, but we got a lot of magic wrong last time. And then the narrator comes in, over at the magic factory. You're like, what? You've just told us that you got it all wrong. What? Why lean into you being this quote unquote scientist when they get it wrong? It's silly. It's because it's not science, but there we go.
Just a correction quickly. It's the Roman Catholic Church.
Yes, Neil.
Who helped map and catalogue nearly 500,000 stars in the late 1800s.
We developed a laboratory to measure the spectra of pure metals. So we're in the dome of the Schmidt telescope, which is actually just a giant photographic camera. And
So we're looking at the stars and we're taking pictures of them. It's just a big camera. So basically, people, if you're out there, you're doing maybe wedding photography, you're basically a scientist. I mean, this is just a camera. Yeah, but it's pointing at the sky. Oh, right, sorry, wedding photographers. No, you're taking pictures of people. Point your camera at the sky and go click, and that makes you a scientist according to this standard. I mean, that's not the case, obviously, but that is the standard they've laid down here, isn't it? What are they doing to justify them calling themselves scientists? Point a camera at the sky.
it was the final telescope installed here at the Vatican. It was put in here in the late 50s, and Pope Pius XII personally bought this telescope out of his family funds, not Vatican funds.
Yeah, right.
Another incredible piece of history about this room, it is where Pope Paul VI spoke to the astronauts.
The
Oh, yeah. He spoke to them in Narnia, did he? Did they transmit through the wardrobe?
Apollo astronauts on the moon.
Wow.
No, he didn't. They were lying to him, or he was in on it. Either way, the people who told him that they were on the moon were liars. They absolutely were not traversing through high pressure gas through an area of volume the gas would be filling in line with entropic laws of dispersion, aka second law of thermodynamics. Gas fills space. They're not traveling through space to get to the moon. It's all a big lie.
He was standing, actually sitting, exactly right where you are. First, a blessing in Latin, and then a message to the astronauts in English.
They're going to burn in hell. All of them. The astronauts. They're all going to burn in hell. If you're listening to this and you know an astronaut, feel free to let them know. You say you've been to space. I know you're a liar. You're going to burn in hell.
Referring to the moon as the pale goddess of our dreams.
Wow.
Yeah, how
There you
romantic. They're going to burn in hell.
It was beautiful. It was poetic.
Paul VI is speaking to you, astronauts. Greetings and blessings.
This footage is on a stage. This is a stage. If you are unaware, we don't need to debunk this. We don't need to go through the fakery of NASA. However, this is a stage. These men are on wires, bouncing around in heavy costumes on a stage with a backdrop. Because the light in the sky, as detailed earlier, is not capable of approach via a sky vacuum as detailed in this story. That's not possible. The men claiming to have done this are liars.
Blessing to you, conquerors of the moon.
And it was a moment that showed just how dedicated the church is to being in tune with the science and the technology of the times.
You're doing neither. Stealing God's glory. It's absolutely disgraceful.
And 240,000 miles from Earth, on board the Apollo space
240,000 miles. I wonder where you got that number from. I'm pretty sure you're going to need to derive an R value to extrapolate by way of the Jesuit Roman Catholic Church, their Keplerian, heliocentric derivation by way of Huygens, assuming that radius measured off a flat plane can be calculated in Kepler's orbital motion for a transit of Venus when assuming that has the same radial value measured off a flat Earth in that system to give you the distance that you just appealed to. So given that you've just given us a value, a specific value, I'm going to tell you that you will need to measure Earth flat to get to that value. Earth is flat. For this man to tell you that value, Earth was measured flat by the Roman Catholic Church. They then derived radial values in a spherical model that moved around the sun, and then inferred scale with Huygens' assumption called ingenious that Venus had the same flat Earth measured radial value capable of superimposition onto Venus. Earth is flat, ladies and gentlemen. This man's value proves it.
spacecraft, the astronauts had brought a small flag of Vatican City.
It was a beautiful, beautiful moment.
This is a cartoon. That's a cartoon. It's claiming to be a picture of Earth from space. It's not. It's blatant 1950s, 60s-ish technology cartoon. It's garbage. By today's standard, this would be laughable. If somebody showed this, this is akin to us having the Thunderbirds presented to us and being told it's real life. Now, the fact that because it's nostalgic, people don't laugh at it. No, this is just as laughable now as it should have been then, but for the fact that people didn't have any reference to high-quality digital imagery as we do today, this was considered high-tech then. Now, it's just as laughable as it should have been back then to perceive a high-pressure gas not dispersing into a 10 to the minus 17 torr vacuum. Utterly absurd and a direct violation of the second law of thermodynamics. Nevertheless, you can really see how crapo-vision it is now in 2025.
So the evidence in front of you is that anybody tells you you have to give up your science to be a religious person or your religion to be a scientific person.
you don't have either. You're not, talking about religion. You're not talking about anything. You started off by talking a little bit about Genesis and quoting a flat Earth reference that isn't there. You inferred it. You kind of worked outside of the lines of the actual text, which is in itself quite egregious. Shout out to Unitox Femu. Why people invented word pseudoscience? Because of hobby, entertainment, because to the point it out something, what isn't science? Indeed, Unitox Femu. I think I'll glean what you're trying to say there. This is why we have defined words. And you're absolutely correct in context, Unitox Femu. Pseudoscience is what was thrown under the bus as being incorrect and inconsistent when talking about mass attracting mass and Newtonian gravitation versus Einsteinian bent pseudo-geometry. These are the pseudosciences. It's right there in the title for Einstein. They're not sciences, they're just being called that so people believe the crap stories that the Roman Catholic Church has come up with. Thank you for the super chat.
Is giving you a load of nonsense. And then you should ask yourself, why are they telling you that? What's in it for them?
The Big B. The Book of Genesis versus the Big Bang Theory.
Right.
There's a perfect example of how the two are so opposed, there could never be any point in the middle where they could meet.
Yeah, one was invented by a dude. One is considered by you and your religion as being the word of God. I mean, this shouldn't even be on the table. I mean, it is disgraceful. Really, isn't it? It's shameful. I shouldn't laugh, but it is absolutely disgraceful.
How can you be a man of both?
I'll start off by reminding you that the Big Bang Theory was devised by a Catholic priest, Georges Lemaitre. I'll start off by reminding you that the Big Bang Theory was devised by a Catholic priest.
So yeah, exactly as I just pointed out. So some dude versus the word of God. Okay, stood next to the pseudoscientist of pseudoscientists, Einstein himself, with his bent pseudo-geometry.
Georges Lemaitre. And it was opposed by a lot of astronomers in his day because they...
So comparable to the word of God then. Oh yeah, I mean, we should really be comparing these things. 113 people watching. Please share the show if you've not done so already. Very warm welcome to all of you who have joined the show recently. Only probably here because a lot of the regulars share the show, so please smash that share button if you've not done so already.
They thought it was too close to the idea of creation. But Genesis is not a book of science. Genesis is a book about God.
So when you say it's not a book of science, you mean it's not a book of what you're calling science, which is pseudoscience, just so stories?
And everything it says about God is not only still true, but now that we know more about how the universe is created.
Where did you get that information from? Did you have a time machine? Did you rewind the arrow of time? Oh, no. George told you, didn't he? Good old George. Lots of people opposed him and didn't agree with him. But good old George, now we know. Because you agreed and it's now set in stone because George, right?
It's even more important and more true than the poor guy who...
Sorry. Oh,
Dead.
sorry. Genesis is not a book about God. Genesis is a book about creation. It's claimed to be from God, number one. Number two, how can you know more about creation when you just pointed out that Genesis is in a complete opposition to the Big Bang, which was just made up by George? So it's either God or George. Which one are you going to choose?
George is a pretty good poker player. So
He's handy. He's handy at poker. I would say that.
You look at Genesis, the beginnings of entropy, right?
that's what it's essentially describing, yeah, if you want to look at it that way.
Who wrote Genesis could ever have believed.
And do you believe written in a poetic way deliberately in order to make it timeless?
It had to be written in a poetic way because the science keeps changing.
God's word had to be written like this because I just so stories keep making no sense. Yeah, okay.
You know, God couldn't say, and then I had a big bang because 100.
Or he couldn't say that. No, he didn't say that. That's not what he said. But you're telling us what he couldn't say. Oh, well, how presumptive of you.
Exactly,
ago, people would
Nathan.
have
It's
said,
what
"What are you
God
talking
didn't
about?"
say.
Yeah, that's the only way to look at these things. We've got to read between the lines about what he didn't say, Neil. It's only reasonable.
And 1,000 years from now, the Big Bang is going to look, you know, kind of naive, I hope.
So let me get it right. We'll take George at his word, in spite of lots of people opposing him, and hopefully he'll be proven wrong and crude and out of date in 1,000 years' time. Okay, so you accept that people didn't like it when he first came out with it, but you hope moving forward will advance beyond it. So where are we now in this timeline of garbage? We're at the point that we just believe it, knowing it's going to be proven wrong in the future, and people didn't like it when it first came out. But we're happy with it at the moment. It's just okay for now, I guess. It's like, it's the big biro pen of buying a fountain pen. Okay, we'll chuck it away eventually, I guess.
It has to be spoken in poetry.
What do you think are the advantages of being a scientist who has faith?
The biggest advantage.
Stop that. Stop that. Genesis is not poetic. It's historic prose. What the hell are they talking about?
Wow, I just wrote that in chat. Exactly the same words.
Is it keeps you centered on why you're doing this. Science should be for the glory of God.
Now, I might offend some Christians out there. Science doesn't have any intentions or motivations towards God or man. It's a method. So to suggest that it's praising, it's not speaking in tongues, right? It's not getting baptized. It's a method. For God's sake.
And what I mean is it should be fun.
It should be fun. It's a method that is actually reified into a person that's declaring the glory of God because it's fun. No, you're just a nonsense waffler. This is garbage. It makes no sense.
Because joy is the glory of God.
Joy to the world, the bullshit's here.
Joy is evidence of God's presence.
That's funny.
And joy only comes when you approach the truth.
In researching their book, Horn and Putnam were granted permission to visit the Observatory on Mount Graham, which hosts the Vatican Advanced Tech.
And lo, he saith to they, Go to thy telescope, look, and calleth thyself scientists. So saith George.
Technology Telescope, VAT, in September 2012. Not only were they able to discuss the study of deep space with the Jesuit astronomers there.
Did they discuss it? Did they have tea and biscuits? You know what I think about outer space? What's that? Oh, I think it's really far away. Why? Well, because we measure Earth flat and figured it out, didn't we? I bet it was a lovely meeting.
But they also gained access to one of the top Vatican astronomers in Rome.
No! Did they get access to all of him? All at once? Well, this is amazing. I'm slightly trembling.
Horn said Brother Guy Consolmagno,
Consagmago. See, I said it better both times.
Why
who
they
has
have to
also
be
been called the
Italians?
papal.
Why do they have to be Italian? I don't know.
Yeah.
No prejudice, Neil. Could have been anybody.
When in Rome.
It's embarrassing.
Oh, well, if there could have been the Greeks doing this, it wouldn't matter.
Astronomer told the authors some astounding information during 5 interviews.
What, did he piecemeal out the information across all 5, or did he give all 5 the same information? I mean, you need to be specific about this. I'm on tenterhooks here. You know, I need to know.
With NASA in charge of the flow of astronomical information to the public, it appears the Vatican has remained a central player in the truly accurate astronomy not being released to the public. For hundreds of years, the Vatican has owned more telescopes and observatories than any organization, private university, or government.
Seriously, who cares? I mean, other than us going through the backstory of why we have a heliocentric paradigm to begin with, literally who cares? I mean, for us, this is inconsequential. Now, I know there's going to be people watching that going, wow, this is the biggest deal ever. And you're like, well, yeah, we do cover it on an almost daily basis about where the origin of the paradigm you, if you're a baller, currently reside in, came from. So this isn't anything new. But in terms of what they're appealing to, it's only the fantasy of your ball-believing Muppet that would go, wow, they own so many... Who cares?
Hang on, Nathan.
NASA
He said
and the Vatican.
Sorry,
No, go ahead.
sorry, 1 second, Nathan. I tried to get you before you passed away. He said a minute ago that the true nature of the stars or something has been withheld from the public. In other words, if you go back to what he said, he more or less said that NASA have it wrong. That's what I heard from hearing it one time. And the true nature of the stars or the true movement or whatever, something like that, has been withheld from the public. And now he's going into the history of how much astronomy they've done. So they're basically stating, from what I heard, could be wrong, is that NASA relayed to the public a lot of falsehoods. We know the truth, but we haven't told you about it. That's what I heard.
Jointly own Lucifer, the world's largest binocular telescope. According to the official Vatican website, the Vatican Observatory is one of the oldest astronomical institutes.
There's nothing to see here. Having a telescope called Lucifer, no big deal.
Hold on
in
a
the
second.
world.
Hold on a second. Wait a second. He said, I will exalt myself above the stars. I will be like the Most High.
No big deal.
Moving on.
And yet, where are the photographs? Where are the news releases of the latest discoveries? Precisely what have the Jesuit astronomers been doing for the last 500 years?
They know, but they're not going to tell you. And you might find something out from NASA, but they're probably not right. But the Jesuits know. They know the truth.
Only they know.
I knew it. I knew it. Can't they tell us? I mean, I really want to know too.
Where it says the world is flat and it's covered with a dome and there's water above and below the dome, you know, where does the shuttle go? How come you don't get wet?
What?
That was from his...
Don't get wet. What the hell was that?
From his earlier interview, his opener was talking about how the Bible says Earth is flat in Genesis. I'm like, does it? I mean, yes, you can interpret it that way, but it doesn't have those words there, does it?
In Genesis, not that I'm aware of.
No, he's taking liberties, but I don't know, whoever that videographer was has leaned into his liberties that he's taking, and I take umbrage with both. I take umbrage with him taking liberties with the word of Genesis, which is, don't get me wrong, when it comes to the flatness being described, it's obvious and self-evident in the words being used, but it doesn't explicitly say those words, which is what he said. You're like, don't do that. There's no need.
Not in Genesis. Not in Genesis, but it says it in other books.
Yeah. He specifically said Genesis, though.
Yeah, I know what he said. He's a moron. He also said it's a poetic book. I mean, second grade Sunday schooler would compromise him. I'd like to get back to, how is the space shuttle getting wet? Did I hear that right?
Something like that. When it goes, and I was asking about Sheol, which is the depiction of the underneath in the biblical version of the world with the dome above it. But that pictorial reference isn't, it's not like the illustration on page 2 of Genesis, is it? You know what I mean?
How's it getting, that didn't answer my question. How is the space shuttle getting wet?
It isn't. It's not. The space shuttle, I think it's just an airplane.
I understand it's not getting wet. All right. Why does he think it's getting wet?
Did they take it to the spaceship wash?
The
Go
waters
into
above
the
are
space
clearly
wash.
stated above the firmament, and the waters below.
He's saying why is it not?
At the
That's what I'm
space wash,
saying. Why is
baby.
it not getting wet?
Dum, dum,
Same
dum,
thing.
dum.
What?
Go into the space wash.
Oh boy.
Nathan.
Yes.
Before you
Brian.
move on there with that, I think you'll find that in Genesis it says that it's not flat because hills, mountains, and valleys.
Thanks, Bev.
Thanks, Brian. Wonderful. All right, any other comments on this in this video? We're obviously
I'm still trying to figure out how this space shuttle's not getting wet or getting wet. And why would that be an issue? Why? Where did he get that from?
How do they know to be food?
His sentence was
clear.
the waters separated from the waters below and the waters above, and then he said that thing. So I guess he's trying to interpret that if they're going somewhere to space somehow or whatever that is. I think he's saying that's water above for some reason. That's
Well,
what
water
he's saying.
above the firmament. So how could the space shuttle be going above the firmament and the waters below? They're called oceans.
Well, that just tells you that they do not read the Bible.
Everyone's going too fast. Just write this down. Oceans.
I think he skipped the firmament part. Forgot to mention that in his comment.
Yeah, he didn't say he just said the waters separated from the waters, and he said, how do they not get wet? Yeah, that's what that guy said. So yeah, I think he misinterpreted the whole
Didn't he
situation.
say dome?
Yeah, he said dome.
He said dome. We heard
did
him.
he?
Well, yeah. I heard him earlier. So the water's above the dome, whether it's a dome or not, it's a container. And then the water's below. Jesus.
Below Jesus or above Jesus? You'll need a flat earth to be above Jesus.
Say again? I didn't hear you.
It's all right. I'm being facetious.
Did you write it down?
I did. Oceans. I've got so far. Don't know what it's in reference to, but I've got it written down.
The waters below?
Yes, sir. Yes, indeedy.
Yes.
So be here or be sphere on the Quantum Eraser YouTube channel in about, I'm going to say, 5 hours time.
Well, it's 6 p.m. your time. So you were correct yesterday.
So Brian was wrong. Disinfo agent.
Yeah.
Shill. It's clear. It's always been the way. Isn't that what he accused me of? You're always doing this, getting it wrong, confusing people.
Well, we went ahead. They didn't. I made that mistake too one time.
The irony of it is, right, before that discussion on yesterday's show, Brian and I on a conversation were talking about how the world has been confused with the moving of an hour here and there in time zones.
That's funny.
Right. Okay.
I'd just
That
like to
was the
say
proper
that
plug. It's not a proper plug.
Okay, so be here or be sphere on the Quantum Eraser YouTube channel, 6 p.m. UK time, 1 p.m. Central Standard, for Quantum Eraser Live, and he's going to be covering some numpty clips. So check it out, be here or be sphere. There is no link to share until he schedules his live stream, which will be a couple of hours before it starts. But in about 1, 2, 3, you're saying it's going to be in 3 hours' time.
3, 10, 11. Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Great plug. Great plug.
So, can I just point out that they won't have a problem if they do get wet because they train in a swimming pool? Yes or no?
Thanks. You just dodged the time thing, too. We're also going to be going over not only an empty clip about bones, we're going to be going over a acclaimed scientist over in the land of misfit toys. We're going to take a look at Taylor and some of the things she had to say. See where they line up.
That's going to be good.
Taylor, a girl, Taylor.
Yes.
It's one of those androgynous names, isn't it?
I like the name.
Well, it's kind of a boy's and a girl's name. It's like Francis.
Especially the way Nova says it.
Are you okay, Bushel? Someone tickling you?
Oh, my bad. I was on mute. No, I just saw in the chat that they were looking for QE's YouTube channel, and somebody made a YouTube channel called Quantum Psycho, and I was laughing at that. Sorry.
Oh, it's nice that you get such attention, isn't it? I always appreciate things like that. Right, any more for any more before we move into the after show?
We finished the whole video?
Yeah, we finished the whole video, yeah. Shocking,
Amazing.
Amazing. With that, I'm going to say, if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, though, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So, another massive thank you to all of you. Smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, joined as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.